Okay, in this video we're going to think about that concept of equal parts. Okay, now think about that word equal. Remind yourself, what does that word mean? If something's equal to something else, okay, or three things are equal, what does that mean? Okay, now with the number, it may well be able to be divided into maybe two equal parts and no more. Okay, so like the number 2, okay, we could split that into a part of 1 and we could split that into a part of 1. Okay, now these are equal parts, okay, but we couldn't split it into a part of 2 and a part of 0 because these would not be equal parts. But some things, like let's say the number 8, we could split that into two equal parts of 4 and 4. We could split that into 4 equal parts of 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. Okay, we could split that into 8 equal parts of 1. Okay, so our number 8 can be split into equal parts in lots of different ways. So it can be split into 2 equal parts, it can be split into 4 equal parts, it can be split into 8 equal parts. But as long as those parts are the same, okay, then we're getting equal parts. Okay, so if we split something into 2 equal parts, okay, if we've got 2 parts, remember with our fraction, okay, we've got 2 parts, our denominator is 2, and if we were to look at one of those parts, so half of 8, okay, half of 8 would be 4, okay, because we've got 2 equal parts and we look at one of those equal parts. This time, we've got 4 equal parts, okay, and if we were looking at one of those parts, okay, 1/4, okay, of 8 is going to be 2. Okay, if I were to say what's 2/4 of 8, I would then look at 2 of my parts, okay, because our numerator tells you how many of those equal parts you're looking at. Okay, so 2/4 of 8, sorry, would be 2 add 2, which would be 4. Okay, so that concept of equal parts relates really strongly to our fractions. Okay, so we've got there. Now, I've got my number 24 up here, and I've got 24 Deans. Now, the number 24 can be split into loads of different equal parts. It could be split into 4 equal parts. In fact, I'm going to do my circles a little bit bigger, I think. So remember, if you're splitting something into 4 parts, okay, our fraction has a 4 in its denominator. We're talking quarters, okay, and one of those would be 1/4. So if we were to split our 24 into quarters, okay, actually it's going to be easier, I think. Oops. Okay, 1. So just going through my groups, I'm sharing it out. You'll notice this is very similar to our division. Ooh, dividing by sharing. Now, if I were to look at 1/4, okay, I would look at how many's in that group, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1/4 of 24, we've split it into 4 equal groups, okay, and 1/4 is going to be 6. Okay, so you've got that there. So we split that into quarters because we're talking 4 groups. Now, to save this long-winded job of sharing out and drawing out, some of you who are good with your division, okay, may well be able to think, right, 24 divided by 4 equals, well, I know what that equals 6. Okay, so if I divide my 24 into quarters, I get 6. Okay, but remember, if you're doing 2/4, you would need to times this number by 2. Okay, so you've got that, because remember, this is going to be 1/4. Okay, so you'd have to have 2 lots of that 1/4. So you've got there. Okay, so that's splitting our 24 into 4 equal parts. Okay, you might also split it into equal parts in a different way. So 24 can also be split into 8 equal parts. Okay, so I've got my 8 parts. If I'm thinking of my fraction, my 8 parts I show in my denominator. Okay, I've got 8 parts altogether, so I'm thinking in eighths. Okay, and lots of the fractions follow that pattern of if you've got 8 as your denominator, it's eighths. So you've got them there. Okay, so eighths, I'm going to share my 24 out. Again, be thinking, what would this calculation be if I was dividing? Okay, to save doing this sharing, I can use my division knowledge. What would it be? 8. Okay, I'll just do a quick check through. I've got 3 there, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So they're all equal. Okay, and then if I were to look at 1/8, okay, 1/8 of 24, okay, is going to be 3, because I've divided it by 8. 24 divided by 8 equals 3. Okay, so 1/8 of 24 equals 3. Okay, so when we're thinking equal groups, numbers can be split up into lots of different equal groups, but as long as they're the same, okay, they are equal, and depending on how many groups you have, okay, tells you what your fraction is going to be. If I were looking at 3/8, I would look at 3 of those groups. So I'd have 3, 6, 9 would be 3/8 of 24. Okay, just as a reminder on our equal groups there. Okay, they can be split into equal groups in different ways, but as long as they're the same, they're equal.